Moon Knight episode 6, Gods and Monsters. So we finally get the conclusion to this series. And also say it was pretty interesting. I'll get to the ending when I get there. So there will be spoilers for this. Let's just start right from the get-go. So we start off with Layla, who I almost forgot about because she didn't appear in the last episode. But yeah, Layla she just witnessed Marc being killed. She's kind of hiding as Arthur and his men surround the tomb. They find the figure of Ammit's, little imprisonment on Marc, which is weird because I thought Marc gave it to Layla. I could have sworn that he gave it to her, but no, he didn't. Which kind of begs the question, why was he trying to tell her to, run, I'll hold them off as long as I can, when you're the one who has the item that they want? Why not give the item to Layla, have her run off, and then try to hold off Arthur's men? And then that way, even if they kill you, which they did, Layla would still have a head start and have the item that they're looking for. But no, instead, I guess Marc had it the entire time. So Arthur gets his hands on the Ammit figurine, and he unleashes her, or he unleashes some of her powers, and his staff becomes even more powerful. And we have this really weird moment where one of Arthur's men walks past Layla, who's hiding. She grabs him and either kills or knocks him out. And I would think, okay, this guy's dead. Grab his gun and then shoot Arthur and the rest of his men. But instead, she doesn't. Instead, what she does is she puts up her hood, she has a scarf to cover her face, and then she acts as one of Arthur's men and gets in the truck, because basically there's like a convoy of trucks of Arthur and his disciples, and they start driving down the road, and they come across this police barricade where Arthur steps out, and then he uses his new powers to basically judge all the policemen nearby, and of course all but one of them are evil or have like sins in them, so they all have their souls blasted out except for one guy. And as this is happening, Layla gets out, pulls down her mask, grabs a knife, and I'm like, if you're trying to sneak up on Arthur, why are you going to get rid of your disguise before you get up to him? Just keep your disguise on, walk up to him and stab him. But at the same time, I'm also thinking, if this whole thing was so you can sneak up on Arthur and kill him with the knife, why didn't you shoot him with the gun when you had the chance in the tomb? It's just more convolutedness, I guess, just to keep the story going. So yeah, Layla doesn't end up stabbing Arthur, because as she's doing that, the dead bodies of the cops start coming to life very briefly, and it's basically Toweret, can't pronounce the name, the hippo goddess. She's trying to give Layla a message. You gotta find Khonshu, you gotta release him from his tomb. He's in the tomb of the gods. If you release him, then he might be able to revive Marc. And so Layla is like, all right, fine, whatever. Arthur eventually goes to the Tomb of the Gods, where the other gods' avatars are there, and they're finally realizing that something's going on and that Ammit has been released. And that's when Arthur shows up, and they try to stop him, but Arthur quickly, stops all of them. And I'm like, you guys are freaking stupid. Like, this is what you get. This is what you get for being a complete idiot. Like, these gods are retarded, and you know what? They deserve to die. Like, seriously, like in the how many episodes ago? A few episodes ago, where Marc was literally trying to tell them, like, hey, this guy is trying to revive Ammit. Here's all this evidence that he's trying to revive Ammit. Oh, well, that's not conclusive evidence that he's trying to revive Ammit. He's just some guy who has a tattoo of Ammit's scale. He's carrying the cane of Ammit. He's wandering the desert with a group of men near Ammit's burial site. But no, this isn't evidence enough that he's trying to revive Ammit. It's like, oh my god, you guys are so stupid. Maybe we don't need gods if that's how dumb they are. But anyways, Arthur quickly overpowers them all, and they all kind of start dying. And then Layla finds where Khonshu is. She grabs the figure, breaks it. Khonshu's released. And then Khonshu offers Layla to become his avatar, and Layla refuses. She's like, no, I know how much of a curse it was, and how much Marc and Steven were trying to get away from you, and how you basically broke them. Why the hell would I want to be your avatar? Instead, like, you go fight your own battle. So Khonshu is freed, and Arthur is able to break the statue, release Ammit. So we see a CGI crocodile lady. And yeah, we get a fight between Khonshu and Ammit, a CGI battle. Meanwhile, we go back to the field of reeds where Marc is there, and Towlet is there talking to Marc and telling him, like, this is your heaven. Like, you've always wanted peace and quiet, and now you finally have it. And Marc's like, no, I can't. I can't live like this. Not with Steven having sacrificed himself. Like, this isn't fair. Like, I get to live in heaven. Meanwhile, Steven has to live eternally in this, the sand pits, constantly suffering. Like, no, this is BS. So Marc ends up running out of the field of reeds. He ends up in the sand pits. He discovers, or he finds Steven. He crawls over to him and he basically gives him a speech. It's kind of heartwarming, where he basically tells Steven that, you're the superhero out of us. You're the one who was able to get me through all the bad times, growing up with my mom and stuff. I wouldn't have been able to make it without you. And Marc starts becoming petrified. He starts slowly turning to sand. And he's holding his heart, or the heart of both of them, that Towlet gave him in the field of reeds. And he basically places the hearts in Steven's hands and claps his hands with Steven. And he turns into sand, a sand statue as well. And then the gates of Osiris open up. A light shines through. It shines on the hearts that the statues of Steven and Marc are holding. And then it frees them. They get released from the sands. They're alive. They see each other. They're happy. They start hugging. It's heartwarming. And all of a sudden they see this giant sand wave coming towards them, about to crash into them. And then Towlet shows up on her boat, and she kind of knocks the waves down. And she says, hurry, you must go. So Steven and Marc run through the gates, and then they wake up in their body, and they become the avatar of Khonshu once more. And they get out of the tomb. They see Khonshu, and they basically decide to make a deal with him. And they say, I will temporarily be your avatar to stop Ammit. And Khonshu's like upset at first. He's like, are you really going to be doing this right now when, the world's at stake? And he's like, well, I learned my dealings, the art of the deal from you. He didn't learn it from Trump. He learned it from Khonshu. And so, yeah, he says, I will be your avatar temporarily until we stop Ammit, and then you free both me and Steven. And Khonshu's like, all right, fine, I agree. So Marc, as Moon Knight, uses his powers to fly and starts heading towards where Arthur and stuff are at. Meanwhile, Layla finds the avatar for, I believe it's Osiris. He's dying, and he basically tells her, hey, we can stop Ammit if, like, we don't have enough avatars to bind her into a figure, but we can bind her into a mortal body. That's the only way to stop her now. And so he dies, and basically Towlet, the hippo, makes a deal with Layla. Like, hey, like, why don't you temporarily become my avatar? And I'll help you, and Marc fights Ammit and Steven and Arthur and just help you bind Ammit. So she agrees, and then she becomes temporarily avatar, and she gets her own superhero gear, which kind of looks like a mix between Wonder Woman and Captain Falcon with the wings. It's not that bad of an outfit. I would say it would have been cooler if she had like some kind of mask or something. But yeah, we get a fight scene. We get a fight scene between Arthur and his newfound powers and Marc/Steven and Layla. Meanwhile, we also have a kaiju battle between Ammit and Khonshu. And no, I'm not making that up. They literally grow into giant Godzilla-sized versions of themselves, and they start fighting each other Ultraman style. So yeah, we get a kaiju battle in our Moon Knight series, and yeah, we have like I said, we have a fight scene between Moon Knight, Layla, and Arthur. And I will say, the fight scene was not that bad at first. I was kind of worried. I was like, oh no, like Layla has her superhero powers. Is she the one that's gonna be doing everything and saving the day? And Moon Knight's just gonna kind of be like a spectator. And no, we actually have them working together to hold off Arthur. So we have a scene where Arthur is about to kill Moon Knight, and Layla comes in and saves the day. And then moments later, we have a moment where Arthur is about to kill Layla, and then Moon Knight comes in and saves the day. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like they're equals. Like they're helping each other out. There's not any one person who's better than the other. That we see harm all these other series where you always have to do the girl power. And again, like I just want to put this out there. I have no problems with female empowerment when it comes to superheroes. 4 out of my top 5 favorite comic book characters of all time are females, so it's fine. I just don't like when they have to basically punk out the male characters to prop up the female characters. And I've seen Marvel, especially in the comics, do this a lot lately. So I was kind of worried that's what they were going to do here, but they didn't. Instead, they both worked together, and they were both on equal terms. And so yeah, eventually we have a scene where Layla has to split up from Moon Knight because some of Arthur's disciples are going after these. Well, basically they're civilians that are kind of caught in the crossfire, and so Layla has to go and help them. And then meanwhile, it's just Marc and Arthur, and it looks like Arthur is about to kill. It's about to kill Marc. Like he brings up his staff, shoves it into Steven's chest, like he's basically doing the scale balancing thing on Moon Knight. And then all of a sudden we have a switch, and when the switch happens, all of Arthur's disciples are dead. Arthur's defeated, and then Marc's like, "That wasn't you, was it, Steven?" Steven's like, "No, that wasn't me." And that's when Layla's like, "All right, we have to quickly get Arthur back into the tomb, and we have to imprison Ammit into his body." And so they do so. They get Arthur back into the tomb. They start chanting and using their avatar powers. And then we cut to the fight between Khonshu and Ammit, where Ammit was winning the fight, but now she's getting, like, she starts dissolving in her form, turns into like a gas and goes into Arthur's body. And so now Arthur is the avatar of Ammit, and Khonshu shows up and tells him, all right, now you got to kill Arthur. You have to execute Arthur right now so that Ammit can never be free. And Layla tells Marc, you have a choice. You don't have to do this. And Marc refuses. He's like, you know what? Like, I'm done. We made a deal. Ammit is stopped. And Khonshu does make a good point where he's like, as long as Arthur's alive, Ammit is alive. And as long as the two of them are alive, Ammit is going to try everything she can to become free. You have to kill her now before that can happen. But then Marc makes another good point where he's like, you're starting to sound like Ammit. You want me to kill Arthur because Ammit might get free. But I'm also kind of like, I kind of get what you're saying, where he's kind of sounding a bit like Ammit, but at the same time, it's not like Arthur is sin-free. He did commit the crimes. He did try to release Ammit. He did release Ammit. Ammit was free. Ammit's now in his prison inside him. What's to stop him from trying to release her again? Like, it's not like Ammit, where Ammit is judging people before they committed crimes. Arthur already committed crimes, and now there's nothing to stop him from committing more. So I kind of disagreed on that, but yeah, Marc basically refuses to kill Arthur and tells Khonshu, all right, release me. We made a deal. And Khonshu's like, all right, fine, you're free. So yeah, Khonshu releases Marc and Steven, and then all of a sudden they find themselves back in the asylum, and they see Arthur in front of them. Arthur as the shrink, and Arthur is basically explaining that this isn't, like, the whole superhero stuff isn't real. You have to get rid of, Steven, Mark is the real one, stuff like that. And then that's when they notice that as Arthur is walking, he's leaving bloody footprints from when because Arthur, he has the broken glass in his sandals. And Arthur's kind of confused about that. And that's when they realize this asylum is fake. It's the other way around. It's not the asylum is real and all the superhero stuff was fake. It's all the superhero stuff was real and the asylum is fake. And then they tell Arthur, you know what? I think we're good. I think me and Steven, we can work together. I think we'd rather be superheroes than whatever you want us to be. And then they, say later, Gator, they wake up and they're back in Steven's room, the flat that he lives in the apartment building. And Layla's not there. And I was kind of confused about that because I'm like, okay, so what's the whole Layla situation? Because that was a whole subplot running through. It was the whole like romantic and rebuilding of that relationship. And then it kind of goes nowhere because Layla's not here. She's not in the apartment. There are two fishes now, which symbolize that both Mark and Steven are living together in the same body. They're sharing the same body now. Because Mark wakes up and he's like, hey, Steven, are you there? And Steven's like, yep. So now whatever Mark sees, Steven sees. Whatever Steven sees, Mark sees. Whatever one experiences, the other experiences. It's no longer we switch bodies and the other one blacks out and doesn't know what happens. Now we're both commingling together at the same time. And they get out of bed and they trip and fall and they realize that their leg is still shackled to the pillar. And it's kind of like, okay, what the hell was that about? And then all of a sudden, it ends. And I'm like, that was it? What the hell? Like, there is no Jake moments. There's no Layla, conclusion. Like, what happened with that? Layla finds out that Mark was there when her father died, and they never had a conversation about that moment because Mark dies soon afterwards, and then he gets resurrected, and then they have to fight Ammit and Arthur and Arthur's disciples. And then that's it. There's no, like, once Arthur is defeated and Ammit is in his body and Khonshu, makes, he lives up to his end of the deal and he releases Mark and Steven. There's no moments between Mark/Steven and Layla. So it's like, okay, so that whole subplot is just done. That went nowhere. And I heard that this is going to be a miniseries. This is it. Like, I guess maybe it was planned to be a first season and then there's not going to be a second season. So who knows if it was planned to be a miniseries from the start or if it was planned to be multiple seasons. That's what it feels like. It was planned to be multiple seasons and then we have our season finale, which I'll get to in just a moment. But there is not going to be a second season. So it's like, all right, that just kind of ends. And I was like, all right, that kind of sucks. So then I was like, okay, well, this is Marvel. Maybe there is a post-credit scene or whatever. So I kept watching through the credits, and there is a mid-credit scene where we see Arthur, and he's in a psychiatric hospital, and he's kind of like drugged out a bit. And this Spanish-speaking man, this guy shows up. We don't really see him, but he's speaking Spanish to the nurse, and he's like, no, don't worry about Arthur. I'll take care of him. I'll take him to his room. And then he starts wheeling him out the hallway. And instead of taking him to his room, he starts wheeling him in the opposite direction. And as he's wheeling him out, Arthur starts realizing that there's a bunch of dead bodies everywhere. Like all the employees and stuff are just of the hospital are lying dead on the floor. He wheels him out to a limo, opens it up, throws Arthur in the back seat, closes it, and then walks into the driver's seat. And then Arthur sees Khonshu there. And then Arthur's like kind of taunting Khonshu, like, you can't hurt me. Like, you're a god. You can't do anything to me since I'm a human. And Khonshu says, who said I had to do anything? I had no intention of making Layla my next avatar. Why would I do that when Mark doesn't realize how broken he truly is? And the weird thing that I was like, that feels more like he was telling us, the audience, rather than Arthur, because I don't think there was any point in time where Khonshu told Arthur that he was going to make Layla the next avatar. I know he taunted Mark. He taunted Mark with, like, if you don't live up to my standards, then I will make Layla the next avatar. But I don't remember him ever telling Arthur. Maybe he did. I don't know. But that seemed more like he was just telling us, the audience. But yeah, anyways, he says, I had no intention of ever making Layla my avatar. Why would I do that when Marc doesn't realize how broken he truly is? And then all of a sudden, the limo window divider rolls down, and then we see Jake. So Jake finally makes his appearance, and he turns and he looks at Arthur. He pulls out a pistol, and he shoots Arthur dead, and then he drives off in the limo that says Spectre on the license plate. So we finally get to see Jake at the very end in the mid-credit scene, which people might have easily, not even, like, a lot of people probably might not have even seen it unless they've, reminded themselves that this is a Marvel series and Marvel tends to have post-credit scenes. But yeah, that's how it ends. So I will say that this feels like a good season, but not a mini-series. There are unanswered questions. Like what happens with Steven and Marc, what happened with Layla, that kind of didn't, resolve. The fight scene between Arthur and Moon Knight was very anticlimactic. It basically, it's really quick. In fact, most of the fight scene is spent fighting the disciples of Arthur, or the disciples of Ammit, I guess I should say, because they worship her, not necessarily Arthur. But most of the fight scenes is that. And then it almost feels kind of Deus Ex Machina, where we have Layla pinned to a van, being shot at by... It's like this really ridiculous looking scene where she has her wings out and she's shielding herself as a guy is standing like 2 feet away with a machine gun shooting into her wings. And I'm like, her wings aren't that big, dude. Just aim up to hit her head or aim down to hit her torso and legs. So it's just like he's just purposely standing there wasting all of his ammo shooting the wings. It's really comical looking. But yeah, we have Layla basically pinned down being shot at. We have Spectre, Moon Knight on the floor with the cane of Ammit, on him being judged or whatever. And all of a sudden we have a switch and then all the disciples are dead. Arthur's defeated. And it's because Jake took over and took care of everything. But it felt kind of anticlimactic. And I was just kind of like, oh, okay. That's done, I guess. And again, if this was the end of a season, then I would say this is great. Because you left us off with the cliffhanger that makes me looking forward to what's going to happen next. But it's not. This is it. There is no second season. So because there's no second season, I'm just kind of like, okay, whatever. I don't know. You kind of left me hanging, and now there's not going to be any closure in a sense. Hopefully that changes. Hopefully we'll actually get a second season. And I'm hoping that we keep Moon Knight away from the rest of the MCU. Because I feel like that's a problem now with MCU, is that now it's like we're trying to shoehorn in everybody into the main group, like the main continuity. And I just kind of wish that this series doesn't. Like, some series, just leave them on their own. They don't need to be a part of the regular MCU. Keep Moon Knight away from that, because the fact that you kept everything out of from the MCU out of this series helped it, in my opinion. Like, you weren't trying to tie in anything here with the MCU, with the rest of the MCU. Like, this was kind of like its own self-contained stuff, and that made it great in my eyes. But yeah, overall, I'll say I enjoyed the series. I felt that the ending was kind of anticlimactic in the sense, well, I'll say that in the sense that there's no closure. Like, it leaves me wanting more, but it leaves me wanting more because there's some unanswered, questions. Like, what's going to happen with Jake? How are Marc and Steven going to find out about him? Are they ever going to find out about him? What happened with Layla? What's that whole relationship like? Is she just out of the picture for good now, doing her own superhero thing? Or is she still with Marc and Steven? Is she still the avatar for the Hippo lady, or is she not? Like, what's going on here? So yeah, there's some stuff not answered, and it feels like it's because they were setting up for the next season that never is going to happen. It's never going to come to fruition. Hopefully that changes. We'll see. But there you go. There's Moon Knight, episode 6, Gods and Monsters. Hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, hopefully we'll see more of Moon Knight in the future. doing his own thing. I don't want him part of the MCU, but I guess we'll see what happens. Anyways, take care, everybody. See you next time. Later.